Can you let us know what happened up there?
We gotta get closer.
Oh, all right. Do you think?
This was all an issue of math. The judge had picked this date because the court rules provide that a temporary restraining order can only be in effect without further hearing for 10 days, and want to make sure that it didn't wind up expiring on its own terms because we didn't get heard. I guess the court goes into this Christmas schedule next week, which makes it difficult to staff, and both sides provided a mountain of paperwork to him last night, and we want him to read it and you give him a chance to understand our arguments. So we're perfectly happy with coming back on Friday when everyone will have had the opportunity to review everyone else's materials, and the court will have had some time to absorb everything and still be within the 10-day window to actively make a decision one way or the other on the application.
So was this set in stone from last Friday, this date, and then because of last night's filing, it's now been...
No, not exactly. Okay. I mean, I wasn't here Friday, but
okay.
They all figured out the math that they needed to get this done before the 19th, and the date was selected as a convenient date that was well within the time frame, but we were, plaintiffs were advised that we needed to get, everyone needed to get their paperwork in by Tuesday, which we did, but it was a lot of paperwork, and there's a lot of moving parts to identifying all the people and pulling all the materials together, and because everyone could be heard on Friday, it gives everyone a chance to present their best argument, and for the court to have, adequate time at least to think about it, as opposed to, getting everything we said to them last night.
And what is the goal of this amended complaint?
Well, the amended complaint sets forth all of the arguments that we were making in the case and identifies all the people. The original application was very brief because of the exigencies of the circumstances, and we had a chance to really flesh out what the issues are and what we're trying to demonstrate.
The average Rhode Islander, I haven't gotten this much feedback on a story from average, regular Rhode Islanders who very often are just trying to get through the day and are quite frankly horrified by this. What would you suggest the average Rhode Islander who feels impotent and yet horrified by the prospect of people again spending another winter out in the rough, what would you suggest they do with regard to this case? Who should they reach out to?
Well, thank you for asking that question, because I also wanted to emphasize that we are not comfortable with the fact that now people who are sleeping outdoors have another 2 nights that they face in the cold with bad weather coming, from what I understand. And so those efforts to get people shelter, appropriate, safe shelter that meets their needs, are still ongoing, and it's everyone's expectation in this case, I think on both sides of the case, that those efforts need to continue. And in answer to the question, what can be done, the whole purpose of the folks who are sleeping outdoors at the State House is to elevate the issue that people need to contact the governor, contact their elected officials, and ask that not only those who are sleeping out at the State House, but the roughly over 400 people who are currently without adequate shelter be addressed. That is what this case is about, and that's what we're going to be back here on Friday to talk about.
Could you just summarize again just those the two main points that are in the complaint highlighted?
So the complaint that we have filed expands upon the original filing to point out that the current circumstance of removing people from the State House, where they have a First Amendment right to be, is a violation of both the First Amendment and the Homeless Bill of Rights.
See you Friday? Yeah? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's gonna snow and rain on Friday. It's gonna snow and rain on Friday, and hopefully that somebody will be able to get them off the street tonight or whatever or whenever, but I'm hoping that they get off the street before Friday, because it's cold out. It's going to be freezing out tonight, and it's going to snow and rain on Friday. We're supposed to have a storm, so hopefully we can get them in the hotels and stuff.
Can you tell us your name for us?
My name is Diane. I work with you. Diana Gray.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm Senator Mendes. I was part of the movement that slept outside last year for 16 days and for 17 days and 16 nights. Many people slept outside, state officials, faith leaders, activists, and unhoused and formerly unhoused people. And we're back here again a year later. The governor has spent money, but yet there are people still on the street. He's hired a high salary housing czar that has no plan a year later. And it's wrong. It's criminal and it's cruel, and it's completely unnecessary. We brought this to his attention. The advocates gift wrapped him a plan a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, and we're still in this crisis. And so I am not just only here in support, but here to testify that it's wrong. And also, it's quite sketchy that I was allowed to sleep outside for 16 nights, and now these people are being evicted. Why? And the governor's afraid to face the fact that he's utterly failing, and there are lives on his hand. People will die. And the solutions he's offering are not real solutions. He's offering shelter beds that are not open. He's bumping other people for shelter, putting other people back on the street so he can save face. And in addition to that, there are some people that are working. Multiple friends I have up there that have jobs. They work at restaurants. They work at Gillette Stadium. That cannot get back in time when shelters close. If he knew anything, if he listened at all in the past 2 years, he would know how dire the situation is and have acted and responded and has a plan. He does not, and people will suffer because of it.
Senator, video exists of you engaging in conversation with senior officials of the Rhode Island State Police at the inception of the sleep out last year, where they acknowledged their First Amendment rights as protesters to be there.
Yep, you were there. Yeah.
And after that first night, when there were, air quotes, safety checks by Capitol Police, you folks were left alone to deal with the elements, but at the same time, you were accorded a level of respect. Do you feel that the fact that these folks who are out there right now may not have the political strength that y'all did last year is a factor in them being routinely harassed like this?
I believe that it is quite curious to me, and I wonder how the judge will be able to respond to the fact that, yeah, we were given a tip of the hat and let us know if you need anything a year ago, and now people right now are being evicted. I don't know how they can justify that. I'd be very curious about how they're able to do that. And legally, they knew at that time they didn't have a standing, and it would be quite politically devastating for them to arrest rabbis and reverends and senators and all the other activists that were outside, faith leaders and public officials, when they couldn't quote a law, municipal or a state, that we were breaking. And they knew that it was wrong and that it was dangerous and that they weren't willing to step on those political landmines. But for people that they acknowledge they do not care about because they haven't created a plan for, all of a sudden now they can activate in a way that they didn't for us, which is fundamentally wrong.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.